In the first episode, he defeats the boss monsters, Crimson Eye, Wolf Monster, and Spider Queen. Yang Wai arrives just as she defeats the Spider Queen. He initially suspects Hugo Otters, but then he hears a voice. Legion attacked Yang Wai, delivering two powerful punches that knocked Yang Wai down to the ground. Legion then informed Yang Wai that he would be taking care of him and proceeded to take all the divine artifacts from Yang Wai's house. Yang Wai, using his power, contacted the divine god, the Jade Emperor. Yang Wai used a chain to tie up Legion and then dropped 1,000,000 swords on top of him, thinking he had killed Legion. However, Legion managed to break free from all the traps and unleashed Yang Wai's power, leaving Yang Wai shocked. Legion utilized his super regeneration skill to quickly recover from the attacks by Yang Wai. He then struck Yang Wai, knocking him down once again. Legion unlocked a new skill, and he expressed gratitude towards Yang Wai, as the new skill had increased his power. Suddenly, the god Ares appeared, astonished to see Legion still alive. Ares questioned Yang Wai about why Legion had not been killed yet, and then disappeared in a flurry of curses towards Yang Wai, as he had failed to eliminate Legion. Next scene, we saw all the guards and Hugo Otter entering the shopping mall to investigate what happened. They found Yang Wai knocked down in a big hole. Hugo Otters flew over to Yang Wai and saw a note, quickly realizing it was from Legion. On Legion's side, he reached Yang Wai's house and entered it. He saw numerous artifacts stored there and finally found his lost toothpick. He quickly took his toothpick from the case, triggering a warning alarm that began ringing, and all the guards surrounded Legion. Legion knocked down all the guards using his toothpick. He then took all the artifacts from Yang Wai's house and suddenly found a divine artifact, Lim. Legion took all the artifacts and ran outside from Yang Wai's house. Hugo arrived at Yang Wai's house but was too late. When he saw Legion, he didn't recognize him at first and hugged the wrong person. Legion then gave a dropkick to Hugo Otters and said, "You don't remember Legion's face." Afterwards, he hugged his old friend and started crying. Suddenly, the god of Sagittarius, Apollo, appeared and saw that Legion was alive. He couldn't believe it was real Legion, so he pointed his arrow at him to confirm. Legion was angry and Hugo Otter tried to convince them that it was indeed Jin. Legion hit Hugo's head hard to prove his identity. Meanwhile, Hugo Otter noticed that Legion had stolen all the artifacts from Yang Wai's house. Suddenly, the Ares avatar, Beast of Wealth, Pishu, arrived behind Legion and Hugo Otter. Legion transformed Lim into a knife, then into a big sword, unlocking his new skill. Now he could see his enemy's weaknesses. Legion attacked Pishu's weakness, cutting off one of his legs and knocking him down with his sword power. As Pishu fell, a new skill was unlocked, and Legion captured Pishu as his avatar. He named his avatar Piggy Bank. Then they reached Hugo Otter's house. Legion explained to Hugo how he killed the Crimson Eye and the Devil Tower Administrator, and how he made some divine artifacts using his power. On the other side, we see the President and other bishops having a meeting about the arrival of the Spider Queen. Suddenly, they heard news of the Spider Queen's defeat, and also learned that Yang Wai had been defeated by someone. On Legion's side, we see that Yang Wai wasn't dead, but his soul had been captured in a doll. It was Legion who had captured Yang Wai's soul in a doll, and was torturing him. In the next scene, we see Aquarius Saintess Guard investigating Yang Wai's house, but finding nothing. Meanwhile, on Legion's side, Sun Yi and Legion arrive at the Divine Artifact Store Complex to return a knife that Legion had taken from there many years ago. Saintess Sophie Madry Nim also arrives at the complex. Legion approaches Jin Mayan, who is an SS rank appraiser, to sell his divine artifacts. After a lengthy discussion, Sophie Madry Nim loses her patience and enters the shop. She is intrigued by the wonderful boy in front of her, but when he enters the shop, she feels a strange power, becomes afraid, and runs away to a corner. She orders her guard to capture the boy and kill everyone else. Sophie Madry Nim grants some power to her guard, and they capture all the people in the complex inside a big water ball. However, Sun Yi manages to escape using his powers. The Saintess Guard approaches Legion and tries to intimidate him with a knife, but Legion breaks it in seconds. The guard then summons an orange-ranked water wolf using the Saintess mana. After borrowing 2 knives from Jin Mayan, Legion knocked down all of the water wolves. The Saintess Guard was shocked and ran away. Jin Mayan remembered Legion's fighting skills and finally understood that it was Legion. He humbled himself and showed respect. Legion and Sun Yi discussed the insignia of the Aquarius Guard. Suddenly, the Gemini Bishop Sunhuk arrived and invited Legion to go to Drachman, the floating castle city. Next scene in Drachman, Sophie Madry Nim was upset when suddenly he saw Hugo Otters arriving. Sophie made fun of Hugo Otters and provoked him, making Hugo angry. But Hugo couldn't do anything because he had made an agreement as a saint. Then Legion came up from behind and taught Sophie a lesson using his power. Then we had a vision of Sophie Madry Nim from 20 years ago, when Legion forced Sophie to join the fight against the Crimson Eye. but Sophie couldn't go because he cared more about his scene than people's lives. When she woke up, she found herself tied to a chair. She tried to escape using her power, but failed. Legion repeatedly hit her, making Sophie unconscious. Legion then went to the auction house where Leo St. Stephen Marker had arrived. They discussed Legion's relics, and Hugo Otter remarked to Stephen that he couldn't be stronger than Legion. Stephen angrily retorted, "Don't compare me with Legion. I am stronger than him." Then Stephen heard news from his guard that the Gemini Bishop had won all the bids at the auction house. Stephen quickly rushed to the auction house and saw that Legion had already won one of Lee Gun's relics. Stephen tried to take the relic, but Legion said, "I won this, it's mine." Stephen attempted to burn Legion's shoulder with his power, but failed. Some time later, the auction started again. This time, the rarest relic of Legion was up for auction. The relic was Legion's favorite weapon, and when he saw it, he remembered his past battles where he had used the same weapon. First, everyone tried to obtain the relic, but Stephen bought it for $1 billion. When she took possession of the relic, a calamity arrived. Stephen used the relic to attack the calamity and threw it out of the building. However, the entire island then collapsed into the ground. Everyone used their magic to try to fix the damage, but it was not enough. Hugo joined them in their efforts and helped to repair the island. Suddenly, another calamity arrived, which turned everyone into zombies. Stephen used her magic and lightning storms to tie up the calamity and save the people. While Stephen fought another calamity with the Legion weapon, she failed to defeat it. She realized that it was just a weapon and that it had many limitations. The calamity attacked Stephen and knocked her to the ground. On the other side, Legion, Hugo, and others entered the lightning storm, helped the affected people, and fought the calamity. They managed to kill it and then left the storm. Legion then attacked the other calamity and defeated it too. He went near Stephen, broke the $1 billion relic in a second, and gave her a punch, knocking her down. On the other side, Sophie Madrinim was seen tied up by Legion and then woke up. This concludes episode 3. In the next episode, we will find out what happened to Sophie Madrinim. Stay tuned for the next video. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and subscribe to ensure that you don't miss the upcoming episodes.